So I don't know if you guys had a chance to hear Micah Parsons post-game following Dallas getting absolutely annihilated by the Eagles over the weekend, but he was asked about Mike McCarthy's, just sort of job security and whatnot, and had this to say post-game.
That's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But, all coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys, I kind of feel bad for his guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
So that did not land well with a lot of people in the media who thought that was a shot at Mike McCarthy. I didn't.
Do you get the sense that he's got the pulse of the locker room? Like he's
yes. Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
No, not Micah. Not Micah. I'm saying Mike McCarthy, because it feels very, very different than when the Detroit Lions talk about Dan Campbell. When some of these other teams talk about their head coach, I don't ever see it quite as much. And maybe Mike McCarthy is just more old school, but it feels like now this generation, this younger generation of players are looking for that connection with their head coach. They're not looking for a divide. They want to feel like they're on the same team, and it's not you and us. And that's what it feels like in Dallas.
I think both of them have the pulse of the locker room. I think Micah understands what the players are saying and what they're feeling. And I think Mike McCarthy understands what the players are saying and what they're feeling. I said this, I don't know if I said it on the show. I know I said it in a couple of interviews. I feel like the point, where this team has gotten to this year so quickly is because Dan Quinn isn't in that locker room anymore, because Dan Quinn isn't on that staff anymore. I think that the idea of what you just said, having that belief in me as a player, that belief in you as a coach, that relationship dynamic, Dan Quinn brought that connecting factor. Mike McCarthy didn't have to be that guy in that situation because Dan Quinn was. Dan Quinn leaves and Zimmer comes in. That's not the relationship dynamics that are playing out now. There's a disconnect between the D coordinator. So now there's a disconnect, the disconnect or that lack of whatever it was that Mike McCarthy had to have or didn't need to have when he had Dan Quinn is now showing. It's now showing that being deficient there for Mike McCarthy is now showing because he has no coach. He doesn't have a coach that brings that type of presence and command like Dan Quinn did when he was there. I think that's the biggest reason why Dallas is struggling and suffering post Dan Quinn.
That's a great example too. That's a great example. I mean, even take Micah Parsons and Mike Zimmer since he got there. I mean, Jonas, I know you know this. How many times do you feel like those two are on the same page?
Oh,
and it came out in the media.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that to go down in a moment's notice. Although I think Mike Zimmer will probably handle that a little differently than he did Kirk Cousins. But yeah, or maybe he won't. But my thing, people took that though, his comments about Mike McCarthy as being disrespectful. I didn't. I think I understood what the point he was trying to make in that. Listen, I'm more concerned about the players. Coaches, come and go, but I'm more focused on the players. And so because he got all the blowback from people, the media, obviously at ESPN, and they took shots and everybody was discussing it yesterday, Micah felt like he had to go to his own show, The Edge with Micah Parsons, and explain his commentary.
I never once intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. Like I said, he's one of the most winningest coach. He is a Super Bowl champion. I never once brung up his past. And the question that was asked was about here in the Dallas Cowboys, did I see Mike McCarthy in our future? And I said, that's above my pay grade. So never once did I ever intended or wanted to reflect on Mike McCarthy's career because I always knew it was a good one. I've always had a great relationship with Mike McCarthy, and I never even put that in question. coaches are, their careers are way longer. They can decide to take a better job. They can move on. You kind of see that a lot from DCs, OCs, head coaching positions. Sometimes better job openings just open up. And you truly never know. You never know how the dice is going to roll with coaches. But when you talk about guys you consistently going to war with, man, like guys that I seen Tyron and Zach barely can walk throughout the week, take a Toradol, go out there and play. Yes, 100%. Every time I'm going to always choose the brother that we're going to bleed with, we're going to work with.
And that's the disconnect between him and the coaches. That's he doesn't even realize it, but that's the truth. There's a disconnect between the coaches and him. And let's be clear, if you want to be offended by, because the only part that you could ever or could be really offended by with what he said in his original comments is that he said Zach Martin has accomplished more than what Mike McCarthy ever has, or something to that effect, right? Have you ever looked at Zach's resume?
Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And most likely could be with his accolades, he could actually, what up, though? He actually could
What up, Gob?
Yeah, what up? Yeah. Hey, he definitely could be a first ballot guy. He could be a first, and he happens to be out of Notre Dame. Hey, but here's the thing, right?
What up, South Bend?
He didn't say anything that would, like, Mike McCarthy has one Super Bowl. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. And that's an amazing accomplishment. And listen, he's a homie. Like, he's from Pittsburgh. But Mike McCarthy has one Super Bowl.
That's a lot more than Dallas has had. And those players in that locker room
but that's not a lot more than what Zach Martin has on his resume. And it's different. It's apples to oranges, right? Because one's a coach and one is a player. But if we're looking at within the game and what your accomplishments are, if I'm looking at it and I'm weighing out and I'm measuring, is Mike McCarthy a Hall of Fame coach?
Probably not.
You said probably not.
Yeah.
Q, is he a Hall of Fame coach?
I don't know. I'd argue with his win percentage and the fact that he's got a Super Bowl, I think he would eventually get in. Usually, if you get that Super Bowl and you have a high enough win percentage, you get in.
Here's the point. Here's the point. Neither one of y'all said definitively yes, like you did when I said Zach Martin. That's the point.
Yeah, but I don't know.
That's the point.
I don't know that this is Micah Parsons talking about credentials of either guy as being.
I think that's the only thing you could get offended by, though.
Like, I look at it, I just think that his point was, man, like, Mike's going to be okay. But like these guys that I'm playing
they're
with,
done. They're not going nowhere else.
And I think he feels guilty that he hasn't been able to get them to places that he wanted to see him get to, knowing all the pain and all the struggle.
And that is the point. But what I'm saying is while he's making his point, and his point should be what people are focused in on, they're listening, they're looking at certain parts of what he said, and they're compartmentalizing those parts of what he's saying.
Also,
by the way, I do think he'll be a Hall of Fame coach.
Okay. I mean, I think he's got a good. I think he has got a good resume.
I didn't hesitate with Zach Martin because I think he could be like a first ballot type or very soon because of his resume.
Yes.
I think Mike McCarthy will have to wait a bit, but if you I guess I don't really know because I don't pay attention to the criteria for voting for the Hall of Fame for coaches, but they usually have to win a Super Bowl. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it kind of comes down to like how many division titles do you win? You'd say conference championships, but that really comes down to how many Super Bowls, which, again, he's only been to one. So I don't know, but he's got a win percentage all time over 600, which is pretty darn good, man.
I mean, Mike Shanahan still hasn't gotten in. I mean, like, that's, that feels like coaches.
That's crazy when you think about it.
I think that is crazy. I just look, my whole.
Forget his resume, like the impact he's had with his offense and all the other coaches that are out there from that system.